Hello fellow courier cruisers, Jonesy here. This is just a little introduction to a video that I made about 6 months ago doing a Optima yellow top battery install. There's my neighbours. As you can see, I'm not in the courier cart today, courier cruiser, in my truck. But yeah, just a bit of information on how I went about the install and pros and cons of the setup that I've got on my S11, and I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so the idea is the 6-cell Optima battery, which is the largest one they do, the yellow in the yellow top. See, cranking amps, 1125, cold cranking amps, 900. It's pretty impressive battery, great for running winches, fridges, that kind of thing. It is still technically lead acid, but it's a coil design which is used by the military. It's technically bulletproof, and it handles corrugations really well, so it was a no-brainer as an upgrade. The factory Amaron batteries that come with them are actually pretty good. I had a second-hand one out of a Isuzu D-Max for probably 2 years that had already been in a car for 2 years prior to that, and it's still going. So not necessarily an upgrade, but I thought if I'm spending the money, I might as well go all out and get this. So I've got these extension lugs. Basically, I'll mark the post where I need to cut it. This will thread down to the height that you need, and then I'll have a nut that will go in and complete the clamp, because as you can see, this battery just clears. There is a few mil gap. It's probably not ideal. You can put some belt rubber in there or change the clamp or twist it, move the lines around, but it does clear. So as you can see, the factory clamp is the right width, give or take. It's a little bit loose. I might put some insertion rubber in there, but if you look where the posts are, they're hard mounted into the frame, so you can't just get a little hook and bar and remount that. You have to use the factory ones, otherwise it's a job of welding. So yeah, I'm going to cut this down, have the extension here, and then a bolt will thread into the top of this for the factory bracket. So studs are all marked up to where I need to cut them down to. So just going to take this negative terminal off now that it's been confirmed that that fits in the right spot. Pull this battery out. Time for some grinding. Safety first, kids. Gotta keep your eyes and ears and face. Make sure you tuck away your wires so they're well and truly clear of the blade. That would not be fun. Okay, so now that those posts are cut, I'm going to clean up the thread with some sacrificial nuts, make sure that they engage nicely, and then yeah, I'll put the extensions on. I'll put a lot of thread locker on there. I've got some Loctite 243 medium strength. I'd probably go something a bit more heavy duty, but this is all I have in the shed, and that should stop it from coming loose on corrugations. But it'll be a nice hard mount using the factory brace. So Seems to have done the trick. In goes the battery. Man, these lead acids are heavy. Okay. This is a lot taller than your standard battery as well. Hence checking the clearance on the gas strut and making sure the terminals don't earth out on the bonnet. This is a negative one, which is a good design because obviously your positive's got a lot more clearance between the bonnet. You still don't want your negative to touch either, but I'll be closely monitoring that over the next few weeks. Okay, there we go. Negative on. All reaches. So we've got the Loctite and the nut. Just going to put the Loctite on the thread. Tiny bit of swarf there, get rid of that. That's more than enough. So I'm just going to thread it on so that the thread's halfway inside the nut. Always start things with your hands so you don't thread it. Make sure you got the right thread. Okay, so that's the depth there. Do the same with the other side. Okay, moment of truth. I was going to use some nylock nuts, but I opted to use the bolt instead to bolt into the extension instead of having a stud in there. So I'm using some fibre washers. Sit there like that. I'm going to have to trim these down to make them fit. Now I'm just going to trim these down. It's always handy when you got a box full of nuts and bolts. Sometimes, well, I better not carry that with one hand. Hang on. Now, last resort, I'll cut those down, but otherwise, oops. Yeah, I'll do a video about that later. That was pretty cool. Okay, need some M8 bolts that are a bit shorter. Something that's not rusted preferably, and zinc coated, maybe galvanized. Okay, so amongst all my scavenging, I found a couple of candidates. Not exactly appealing, especially on a brand new car. So these two have got nice spring washers and nice big flat plate washer on there. So I'm going to use them. They're both the same length. They're high tensile. I'm just going to give them a light sand and a bit of a paint with some corrosion protection and some paint, and then I'll be using those. Okay, they've come up pretty good. Let's give them a quick clean with some wax and grease remover. Clean rag, dry those off. Now let's give them a quick spruce up with some paint. I was just going to spray some epoxy black, but I thought I'd use this rust converter primer and sealer. It's just a bit more of a hard wearing paint to stop the corrosion underneath. There's still a bit of zinc plating on there, so the paint won't really adhere to that, but any bare metal, that will protect it. Alright, here we go, first time with a new battery. as far over that way as it can go, sitting inside the tray. That's all good. Nip it up. Let's try 13 mil. There you go. That's not going anywhere. It's probably a little bit over tightened actually, but it's thread locked. It's washers and spring washers and high tensile bolts. There we go. Put it somewhere silly. And make sure this one's really square so it doesn't foul on the gas strut there. It's a shame that terminal's so far over. Put the cap back on. It's nice. Just double check the clearance. There you go. As you can see, it has made contact. There's a little scrape just there, so that battery clamp's going to have to loosen and I'll wiggle it just over a smidge. Worst case scenario, I can have this battery tray welded up and have it moved across. So it's sitting on that little lip just there. Might be better, it might be worse. Let's give that a go. Alright, let's see the clearance. That's better already, I can already see it's got more room. You can see the old rub mark from my angle. It's nowhere near it. Okay, so that was the minor scrape from where it was sitting as far as it could go this way. So even then, I mean, that's not too bad. I've just shoved it that way. It actually moved quite a fair bit. That clamp's tightened up really tight. And there's no more marks on there. That's the only contact. So I think that is what I would call a win. I've done about 10,000 Ks since it's been in. There's no further wear, there's no touch points. The batteries remain secure. I haven't touched these bolts, nipped them up. Tray hasn't moved, like the bracket hasn't moved. There's no rubbing anywhere on any of the other components. Definitely a win. Tolerances are close, but it does fit. Definitely recommend. Yet to fit a winch, but that was the main purpose of the battery, is having some good decent pulling power with a winch, keeping those amps up there. You may have noticed since the last video, I did a Direction Plus pre-filter kit. Used all nice stainless components and bolts. Bought a couple of nuts and bolts and some washers. There's your outlet, which goes into the factory filter, which is right here. Another thing you might want to check is the bolts on these, they actually come loose. That's actually finger tight. So that hasn't been touched over the last...
What are you doing, Dad? What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm doing a video.
What is?
Yeah, showing everyone what I've done to my S11. The new battery, pre-filter, and the catch can. What do you reckon? Pretty good? So I didn't want to have to cut the factory fuel line, but I have used the correct adapters in order to fit those. I
I actually had contaminants in my fuel, and I emptied the cock on the bottom of this filter and drained all the water out of it, and then I also pulled the filter out, inverted the filter, just tried to check to see if there's any hard contaminants, and there wasn't, so that was all good. Pretty much installed this Direction Plus pre-filter, and this is the electronic model that has the sensor with an LED that indicates water contamination or contamination in general. And I haven't had any problems with this for the last 6 months, and it's been fantastic. I had contaminants in my fuel that mechanic said I should have probably dropped out. And this is pretty much, I didn't have to do that. I just had to run this filter, and it's filtered it all out. As for the actual connector pin and the sensor, on the base of this filter, there's a proprietary plug on the base. This is the harness that comes with the kit. It's got a good quality sheathing on it. I just routed it through the passenger firewall. So I pretty much just routed the harness through the firewall on the passenger side, along with the factory wiring. Fed it underneath the glove box through the bottom of the center console. It's all secured with zip ties, and it's all nice and clean and tidy. Pull off this kick panel, and I've just routed the little indicator light straight up near the dash. It's in your peripheral, so when you're actually driving, if you look down, you can kind of see it just there. So you check your filter. It's got the little trap with the sensor. So pretty much, it's got a little audible speaker box which is mounted down there, which will beep at you to let you know when you've got contaminants. But as a check, just to make sure it's working, when you put the key in the car, okay, once you get to ignition, hear that little audible beep, and then the flash of the LED. So now you know that the pre-filter is working and that it's done its pre-checks. So I apologise for not filming the process of doing the pre-filter kit. That was a lot of back and forth to the shed and cutting up that bracket just to make sure it fits nicely, and also just rust proofing the body, making sure I didn't do any damage to it to cause rust down the truck. So it is a little bit primitive. I mean, the clamps aren't too pretty, but they are solid, and the adapters that I used are all what it was suggested to me by a proper mechanic, and I've had it checked. But a notable thing to remember is that if you do cut your factory fuel line, which I had to do in order to fit that pre-filter, if you have a warranty issue, say something catastrophic like you blow your engine, if Mahindra can prove that that is the cause of the issue, that the result of you cutting your fuel line or installing that filter, they can void your warranty. And it goes for any accessories, whether it be a battery, if you have a vehicle fire, or your catch can, you plumb it up the wrong way. That is another common issue that happens. I've seen many a times mechanics have had to repair engines where they've plumbed up the catch can incorrectly, inlet to outlet, outlet to inlet. I know it sounds simple, but believe it or not, it happens more than often. But if you guys have any questions regarding the install, the actual serials of the part numbers of the kits that I used, I'll be happy to look those up and add them into the description. I can't remember, it's been a while since I've installed it, but it's cheap insurance, 100% worth doing, and I would definitely recommend it, just especially in Australia. I've had contaminants up north, and when you got the car packed and you got fuel on board, the last thing you want to do is end a trip early because of fuel contaminants. But yeah, the battery's been excellent. It cranks up a lot quicker. You definitely know, especially with a compressor. I've got a King's dual compressor. It's still got the standard tyres. They're pretty small, so not a huge amount of volume, but the extra amperage I get from the battery, as well as the car running the alternator. It's not a smart alternator either, I've been told. It's just a constant power. It just cranks. I fill the tyres up in no time. I can just about pump my car up twice in the time it takes my mates to do their tyres, but they're running like 32s, 33-inch tyres. So anyway, guys, hopefully I haven't waffled on too much, and I'll be doing some future mods. I've been communicating with Rybark Custom and asked to send me some of their products. The AdBlue tank is very exposed, and I've already done some minor damage to the exterior plastic covering. So that will be my focus. But then obviously they do some other really nice premium products like the Torque It brand 3-inch stainless exhaust. They've got their bash plate. I've done a bit of comparison. My brother actually has the factory option bash plate from Mahindra fitted to his vehicle. It has protected his car, but it's definitely taken a beating, and it's doesn't have the same rigidity and strength as the Roebuck's bash plate. So that's another worthy cause. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Ruthie's obviously been working with Roebuck as well, and he's got a full lithium setup which is bolted straight in behind the back seat. So that's another really awesome option, especially if you don't want to have a setup in your canopy if it's exposed, if you've got a canvas canopy or back like mine. But yeah, throttle controller, snorkel, they do heaps of stuff. Chassis extensions, chassis strengthening, tub liners, tonneau covers. I think there's even the possibility of interior mods as well, so like leather seats and stuff. Anyway, that's to come in the future, and I'm really looking forward to it. But anyway, guys, if you haven't already, jump on Facebook and join the Curry Cruiser Club if you own a pickup, and hopefully we can communicate on there and share our ideas and modifications. And I'll see you in the next video. Jonesy out.